Hey guys, it's Delora Dabbles. Welcome to the 13th episode of the Delora Dabbles podcast. So, in this episode, we're going to focus on psychological tarot and specifically your true self. What do I mean by that? There are a lot of spreads and like videos and articles about shadow self and doing shadow work. Um, and your higher self and trying to get closer to your higher self. What do all of these things mean? Well, to give you a rundown of shadow self, and this is like Jungian, right? So there are aspects of yourself that you don't want to acknowledge, that you don't want to, no one wants to be a bad guy. No one wants to think that they're a bad person. Therefore, these negative aspects of ourselves, we tend to be in denial of them. We tend to not want to see them. I can be very greedy. I can be a bit of a hoarder, actually. Now let's get into higher self. What is the higher self? So the higher self is whenever you integrate your shadow self with your true self, with all your selves, right? And you've like attained this higher level of being. Basically, I view the higher self as not enlightenment, but I view it as like the person you were always meant to be before the world fucked you up. As someone with PTSD, of course I'm going to view it that way. Some people do view the higher self as being the part of yourself that's in an enlightened state, right? That is like only achievable when you reach enlightenment, right? And different people have different ideas of what enlightenment even means. So my definition of higher self is when you have integrated all parts of yourself, you love yourself, you know yourself, you're aware of all of these negative and positive aspects of yourself, and you have fully integrated them. You can look at yourself in the store and go, I am a hoarder and I will not buy another fill in the blank, right? It's the person you were meant to be before the world fucked you up. So what does that mean for true self? What is the true self then? Some people can go through life and never question who they are. And that's fantastic. Like, if you're a person who's never thought to yourself, I wonder who I was really meant to be in life. If you never wondered that, you're doing something right, honey. Something you were raised, something happened in your childhood to really give you the confidence to know who you are. When we're talking about, complex PTSD stemming from childhood, like mine, then we are dealing with abuse that rocks a person to their core. Your parental figure is telling you who you are and who you aren't, because abusers like to put people in boxes. And for instance, I was the smart one, right? So that was the box that I was in, and I was not allowed to deviate from that box. When I did, my siblings, who were also had their own boxes, these were the only things that we were freely permitted to be and to do, right? So I was allowed to be smart. I was allowed to sit in the corner and read, right? Like, our personalities were very orchestrated, right? My sister was the artistic one. She was allowed to be artistic because she was the artistic one. When I started drawing, she flipped her fucking shit. 7-year-old sister flipped her fucking shit because that was her thing. That was her only thing that she was allowed to do. How dare I come into her lane and do it better than her? She bullied me relentlessly for it. And I know that it's not her fault, so I'm not trying to be that way about it. But when you have children in boxes and they're only allowed to do what's in their boxes, they will be very protective of that box and any other children who try to come into that box. At least that's been my experience. So there were lots of aspects of myself that didn't fit into the smart girl box that were beaten out of me, bullied out of me, verbally abused out of me, gaslighted out of me. Like, I am a very charismatic and funny person. I like to make funny faces sometimes when I tell stories, and anyone who knows me now will know that side of me. Anyone who knew me back in the day would be like, no, she was socially awkward, like before I left Mobile. It's like, no, she was awkward and quiet. She dressed really frumpy. Like, there was something wrong with her. That's probably what they would say. Now, I make funny faces when I talk. I was so scared to make funny faces and to be my true authentic self and to be charismatic and funny and goofy. I always was jealous and envious of people who were goofy. It got to the point where, like, if I was watching YouTube videos of someone, and like this was a thing like back in like the early 2010s, maybe late 2000s, where like the women would be like, hi, wow, like super expressive, weird fucking face, blah, like that would bother me. Like I would get so fucking uncomfortable seeing beautiful women making ugly, goofy faces, and it wasn't funny to me. It was like deeply bothersome. Because I remember as a child making funny faces, and I remember multiple adults in my family, not just one, tons of them, all women, telling me, oh, honey, that's not a good look for you. Oh, honey, like that face, like I wouldn't make that face if I were you. Because of their own pathological insecurities. Like, if I did something unattractive with my face, like, it triggered their own insecurities. Just how I was bothered by the YouTube videos of the women making funny faces. They were deeply bothered by me making funny faces. However, I can't tell that YouTuber, you're fucking ugly, don't do that, la, 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 right? These people in my family could say those really mean things to me because I was a person there in front of them, right? So all of these things inhibit your true self. They make you hide your true self. And I never knew how goofy I was until I moved out here to Houston and got goofy with it. Like I slowly became who I was always meant to be. Now, there are aspects of myself that I haven't been able to fully recognize and get back. There are things that were still stolen from me, right? So one of those things that I do to help me on this path is, of course, using the tarot. I told you guys we're going to use the tarot in a psychological way this week to discover our true self. So yeah, these are journaling prompts. So every card that we get is going to be journaled. Now, you need to keep this in mind if you want to journal, not to pull so many cards. However, I feel you guys. I like to pull cards. I think that there is power in the pull. And today I was feeling really powerful and really like in my element and just really great about myself and like just confident. That's the word. I was feeling really confident today. And I woke up ready to tackle this because last night I got the idea to do this and then I was just like, I'm not in the right headspace. I'll do it in the morning. And so I woke up this morning and was like, yes, let's do it. So I pulled like 11 cards. I pulled a card basically from all of my working decks that I like, which happened to be 11. So I'm going to give you guys a few examples of questions that I asked. So one of the first questions that I asked, and the themes will be different from the cards that I got, and you'll see in a second. So what aspect of my true self am I stifling today? And I got the Devil card. This is from the Deviant Moon Tarot. This is our Devil card. Now, why would I get the Devil card for an aspect of my true self that I'm stifling? As a child, I never really got to be devious. Without going into too much of the trauma, we were spanked to the point that I don't think it was it wasn't healthy, right? Was not healthy at all. And so I now to this day have a pathological fear of being in trouble, doing something that I know that I'm not supposed to do, or something that I think someone else wouldn't want me to do. And I have a fear of getting in trouble. I have a fear of being naughty, right? Now, when you're using the tarot for psychology, now the devil card is usually about temptations, right? When you're doing it for psychology, these cards can mean whatever the fuck you want them to mean. You're journaling these things, so you're also looking at the images. And if the images affect you a certain kind of way, you need to go with that. You don't need to just hyper focus on what the tarot meaning is for this thing, right? Next, we have another problematic card, or what other people see as a problematic card. We have the Ten of Swords. So the Ten of Swords in this deck, this is the Tarot Erotica by Lori Walls. It's out of print. That's why I'm really showing it off. The artwork, because it might not be easy to find online. The Ten of Swords is usually like the picture with the guy or someone laying on the ground with swords in their back, right? This one took a very different approach to the imagery, which I love. And there's a person there with many breasts whipping people on a wheel, and they're like mules tied to this wheel, and they're being tortured. This is a really, really painful image. This is a torturous image. You know, like it's dark-ish. I don't know. I have a really bad gauge on what's dark and what's not. But for something coming out of like a quote-unquote erotic deck, this is not what most people would expect to see at the Ten of Swords, right? This is why I like this deck. It really, you know, betrays expectations. Like, so yeah, when I journaled this card out, I decided that, you know, I have a really hard time acknowledging the torture that I went through, and it was torture. Even calling it torture makes me uncomfortable, because as a victim, when you call someone out, so many horrible things can happen. I mean, just look at what happens whenever women come out with sexual abuse allegations and how the media treats them. It's no different for any other kind of abuse. Yeah, I'm not going to be on the news for my abuse. It was domestic violence. No one cares about domestic violence. Sorry, not sorry. I had to drop that truth bomb for y'all. But in my microcosmic world of my family and my friends, if I were to speak out and tell everyone what happened and all of this stuff, my family would attack me. Maybe not my entire family, but certainly members of my family would attack me. So I've been stifling it. I've been dancing around it. I've been not really, sometimes not even acknowledging to myself the depths to which I was tortured. So yeah, getting this negative, this bad tarot card actually made me realize something that I've been doing. Like, you can even see it in this channel. You can even see it in this video when I talked about the devil and the spankings, right? So yeah, I have other cards that I pulled for that that specific question that we're just gonna move on, because I don't want to take up too much time. I really want to do short podcasts, but I think I'm destined to be a windbag. I'm so sorry. Next, we have an aspect of my true self that has been taken from me by my abusers. This is where things got very interesting, because you can see the theme of the first question, aspects of my true self that I'm stifling, aspects of my true self that were taken. It's different, slightly different, right? and I like how specific tarot will be about your questions. So I ended up getting a lot of court cards for this. In fact, I drew the Page of Pentacles twice from 2 different decks. We'll talk about that in a second. So yeah, the Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups, these are personality traits, which it's amazing that I pulled so many court cards for this because they're personality traits, the court cards are. Because they're meant to describe a person. So this is the King of Cups from the Zombie Tarot, and I know he doesn't look very charming and intuitive, but this is the Knight of Cups, and he's very charming and intuitive. More so than that, he's a knight, so he's about action, right? So it's not just that he has an intuition and he hears it, he acts on his intuition, right? He listens to it and obeys it. And his charm, it's not just that he can be charming when he feels like he needs to for self-preservation. He can be charming in any social situation, and he always acts on his charm. That's a problem that I have with listening to my intuition. I had to stick my tongue out at it. That's a problem that I have, that a lot of people who have grown up in abusive situations have, is listening to their intuition and trusting their gut, because we were gaslighted so much about everything, about who we even were. You know, not even about the abuse that happened. Oh, I don't beat my children, nah, 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 nah. But you spank the shit out of them. That's beating? Got angry. I apologize. So we got 2 Page of Pentacles. This is from the Ceccoli Tarot. I don't think that this was the original page. Restructured it. So this was not the original Page of Pentacles. And I know it's really hard to see it because it was a mini. And then I trimmed it. I think I'm the only fucking person in the world to trim a goddamn mini, but I really like super tiny cards. So that's me. And next we have the Princess of Pentacles, which in the Thoth, Princess is Page, Prince is Knight, and then Queen King, right? But it's still the Page of Pentacles. These are still personality traits that I need to delve into and dive into and journal. I haven't journaled those yet. And then I got a card that was actually really sad, right? And something that really, it's a super positive fucking card. But in this context, it hit me, it hit me like a punch in the gut, guys, because it was so, but it was such a healing moment pulling this card. And it's crazy because it's from the Naked Heart Tarot. I just got this tarot in the mail like yesterday. It's the Naked Heart Tarot by Jillian C. Wilde, and this is the first thing that I have pulled from this deck for me. Of course, I did my deck interviews with it and like asked it what readings it likes to do, what readings it doesn't like to do. I love to have conversations with my tarot decks because I'm a weirdo, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Yeah, so an aspect of my true self that was taken from me. Happiness, joy, and success. My happiness, joy, and success were taken from me. This was so healing because I feel like, you know, and I'm grateful for what I have in life. I'm grateful for how far I've come and, you know, the opportunities that I've had. I'm grateful for those things. And yet I'm not happy. And I feel bad about not being happy, you know, and it makes me feel like shit because it's like, I live in America. I have food on my table and a roof over my head. Yeah, I'm barely making ends meet, but I still have so much. I have my cats. And yeah, sometimes they tear shit up, but they love me and they know when I'm upset and they always, always know when I need to be comforted. They are my companions and my babies, and I'm so grateful to have them. But none of these things make me happy. one of the things with PTSD is that I do have bouts of depression. I do cycle sometimes between depression and anxiety. And sometimes I have both. And it's fucking hell. And seeing this and knowing, like, my happiness was stolen from me. I look back at my childhood and I look back at times when I was happy and the things that the adults in my family would say to me when I was happy, because unhappy people don't want to stand around looking at happy people. They want to burst anyone's bubble. And as an adult, like, if I'm walking around on the street and I'm smiling and someone goes, "What the fuck are you smiling about? Wipe that smile off your face." I'd be like, "You're a fucking psycho. Fuck off." And I might even call the cops on them if they follow me and continue to fuck with me, right? As a child, when this is an adult in your family doing this to you, you're going to be like, what did I do wrong? You're going to internalize it. You're going to be like, I must have made them unhappy. I must have fucked up. I must have done something wrong. No, that person is a psycho. Fuck them. But children don't feel that way, do they? No. So, yeah. Really sad. So just know that whenever you go into this and you have had trauma in your background, you're going to get some really interesting and strange cards come up. And the journaling is going to be really what takes it from being like, oh shit, I got the Emperor, to, wow, I'm really exploring like my inner Emperor, right? Yeah. So the journaling is really what takes it to the next level. But maybe I will try to come up with a spread for you guys later on this month. And the reason why I chose to start with your true self coming up on Christmas and these holidays, we just had Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, I didn't spend with my family, but if you spend Thanksgiving with your family, maybe you ran into a certain person that shook you up and made you question who you were and what was going on. Maybe what's going on is that you're emotionally flashbacking. Maybe you need to remind yourself of who you really are and what these abusers took from you. When you get in touch with your true self after it was taken from you, it's very empowering. It's hard to shake someone off of their true self once they've reintegrated it. So I feel like more than anything, more than like, gray rock, when your abusive relatives start grilling you on Christmas Day, that's helpful. Those are things you can do in the moment to prevent, and to de-escalate and prevent anything worse from happening. You can follow all of these rules that everyone has, but integrating with your true self and knowing your true self is going to make you unfucking shakeable. And that's what we want to be when we go and visit our relatives on Christmas, right? So, luckily, I don't have to see a lot of my relatives when I visit on Christmas. So, simply because my family has been split in half and broken. So, and a lot of people have died. So, yeah, anyway, got dark there for a second. I apologize. So yeah, if you really like this video, please hit like and subscribe and support my channel. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please place them down below. Anything, we can start a dialogue on it. I don't know if anyone else calls it a true self or something else. I got the idea for this last night, literally while I was studying the Naked Heart Tarot, because I had just gotten it. I was going through some of these things and I was like, wow, true self, and stuff like that. And like the minute I thought it, I was like, my true self, that's what I'm missing. It was like everything clicked at once. So I hope that I was able to recreate that for you guys and that maybe I helped you guys click it in. And whether you have PTSD or not, I hope that this provides you with all the tools that you need on your own healing journey. And until next time, happy dabbling. Bye-bye.